As we record this interview with you here, we don't know that there's definitely going to be a second debate. Do you think there'll be a second debate, and do you think a second debate is needed given what we saw in the first debate?
Yeah, you know, Chuck, I think more debates is always better.
Okay.
Just because it gives voters a chance to hear from candidates in ways that we don't normally hear from them, right? In the vast majority of communications from candidates to voters is in the form of paid media, television commercials, radio commercials, online videos, et cetera, right? And the issue with those is that they are controlled. They're controlled messages, scripted, and I think it's good information to have voters hear from them in a way that is unproduced and unscripted, and it just gives voters a different look at how candidates are going to maybe behave in office or what their temperament is. That's a positive in my view. Whether or not we get a second one, I mean, your guess is as good as mine. It seems like Vice President Harris is keen on the idea. I think that's an interesting position to stake out. She has clearly built her confidence and is feeling really good about her ability to debate Donald Trump on that stage, and I think that's reflected in her proposal for another one.
Yeah. Do you feel as though they did a good job, the candidates and those questioning the candidates, at dealing with the issues? We saw a lot of flamboyant stuff, whether it was talking about eating cats and stuff like that, and a lot of posturing, and as you said earlier, quick one-liners that were probably already prepared in the head of the individual candidate. But what about the issues, especially with those independents?
And this is the problem with debates as they are currently structured, right? Where, especially when we have limited opportunities to hear from them in this format. Mm-hmm. There are so many important issues, which we saw the spectrum of them covered on last Tuesday night, but they're only dealt with in such short snippets, right? The economy, inflation, immigration, abortion, all of these incredibly large, important issues get 2, 3, 4 minutes a time. You'd like to see them be able to delve deeper into their ideas and thoughts about those incredibly important issues. And I don't think we get that with just, the sparring back and forth.
Would you like to see more interviews from the candidates one-on-one with journalists, or maybe in town hall type of settings? That's something that, we're old enough to remember former President Bill Clinton sort of mastered the town hall. He used it to his success. He went in, he felt the people, he felt their pain, so to speak. And then everybody started trying to copy him in terms of that town hall format. I don't see a lot of that going on, and I don't see the candidates doing a lot of one-on-one interviews in local markets, which would help make sure that they're talking about issues that are important to Michigan and other states.
Absolutely. You want to see, even candidates for President of the United States come to Michigan and talk about electric vehicles, electrification, the environment, right, given the prominence of the Great Lakes here. Right? We want them to address the issues that we care about. And I don't think you really get that with that debate format. Look, I'm all for anything that gets candidates to talk to voters in a way that isn't a 30-second commercial, whether that's town hall style or more one-on-one interviews. I think the candidates are the ones that stop that because, they want control. They want to make sure that they are controlling their message. And that makes sense from their perspective, right?
But not necessarily the voters' perspective.
It's in the candidate's best interest, but I don't think it's in the voters' best interest, right? And at some point we got to get to where we can have candidates talk to voters in ways that benefit the information space for the voter, not just the candidate's campaign.
There's been a little bit of talk about if there is a second debate, it might be over on the west side of the state in Grand Rapids. I would imagine you would love to see that. Are you hearing anything from your end that may be a very real possibility?
I've heard the same rumor and innuendo that you have, Chuck. I have no news to break today.
All right, last question. The one, and you mentioned to me earlier that you have some young adults in your house. The Taylor Swift endorsement in a race of this magnitude, that close, can that type of star quality make a huge difference, or is it just good for press and headlines, but it doesn't really resonate when people walk into the polls?
Oh, I think it can absolutely make a big difference. And look, if Taylor Swift's endorsement of Kamala Harris brings her a few more votes, right? We talked before about how Joe Biden won here in 2020, 154,000 votes. Donald Trump won in 2016 with less than 11,000 vote margin. Right, so even small shifts in the vote totals of a candidate, however those come about, can make big differences in terms of the outcome.
All right, Professor Dave Doolio, always a pleasure talking with you and getting your opinion and weighing in on these political races. We'll stay in touch with you between now and November without a doubt.